In the early 2000s, Nike dominated the shoe game. Adidas was hardly on anyone's radar. In fact, Complex only put 2 Adidas shoes in their top 25 sneakers of 2010, where Nike had 15 out of the 25. Everything changed when Kanye joined Adidas. Adidas' US market share nearly doubled, and they became insanely popular. Adidas sneakers were making a name for themselves. And in 2015, Kanye's Yeezy Boosts won the FNAA Shoe of the Year award. So how exactly was Adidas able to strike a deal with Kanye West, and what made the Yeezys so popular? As the largest sportswear manufacturer in Europe, and the second largest sportswear manufacturer in the world, Adidas has clearly made a name for itself. It all started when Adolf Dassler and his older brother Rudolf started a shoe company in 1924. They made shoes for German sportsmen and women under the brand name Gebrüder Dassler Schuhfabrik. At the time, they were running the business from a laundry room in their mother's house. In 1936, the brothers drove to the Summer Olympics and convinced track star Jesse Owens to let them sponsor him. Owens agreed and ended up winning 4 gold medals wearing the brothers' shoes. After Owens' performance at the Olympics, their business skyrocketed. They began selling more than 200,000 pairs of shoes a year. They could hardly keep up with orders. However, the brothers' partnership with each other wouldn't last forever. In 1949, Rudolf decided to part ways and establish another sportswear giant, Puma. That same year, Adolf decided to rebrand and renamed the company after himself. Adolf's nickname was Adi, and his last name was Dassler. If you combine the two, you get the name Adidas. Adidas dominated the world of athletics and went from making shoes to making sportswear and later to making sporting equipment. Since soccer is considered the most popular game in the world, especially in Europe, Adidas decided it would be wise to get thoroughly invested in the sport. They became one of the first to put spikes on the bottom of the soccer shoes. Eventually, they got into the big leagues and manufactured the official FIFA World Cup soccer ball in 1970. Things were going well for the company, although it wouldn't last for long. What happened? Unfortunately, Adi Dassler grew old and passed away in 1978. Luckily, he had his son Horst and his wife Kathy involved in the family business. They took over the company and kept Adidas afloat. Sadly, Horst had cancer and did not survive. His mom died a few years later. Adidas was in trouble. They had no one who knew the intricacies of the business to run it, and they were struggling to keep the company open. Adi Dassler had 4 daughters, but they weren't interested in running the business. To stay afloat, Adidas went public. They had to raise funds in order to stay in business, and they were getting closer and closer to bankruptcy. Eventually, the company got their act together and employed better management. The new CEO, Robert Louis Dreyfus, knew they needed to not only serve athletes, but also become mainstream and engage in pop culture. They became the shoe of the 90s. They were so popular that people would wait in line for hours to get a pair. Adidas was still dealing with financial issues, and around the late 2000s, their stock prices and popularity began to decline. They needed to do something fast. With their new entry into mainstream fashion, why not make a deal with one of the biggest social influencers? Enter Kanye West. Kanye's success speaks for itself. He's one of the world's best-selling artists, selling more than 20 million albums, including 22 Grammy Awards. Since his debut album in 2004, Kanye never looked back. He's very versatile, and he's made sure not to limit himself to just music. He's a rapper, record producer, businessman, politician, and a fashion designer. He's known for being a maverick and having a unique perspective on life. He was exactly who Adidas needed to partner with to revive the brand. Kanye first began in the fashion world with something he had grown up with: sneakers. He designed and developed his first sneaker called the Yeezys with Nike. They dominated mainstream fashion along with Jordans and were looking to expand their horizon. Kanye developed the Nike Yeezys between 2007 and 2009 and decided to give his creations some publicity by wearing them to the 2008 Grammys. Fans saw these shoes and went wild, and camped for weeks outside retail stores just to get their hands on a pair. In 2009, the Nike Air Yeezy 1 was launched in limited quantities, and each pair retailed for $215. It was so limited and sought after that they sold out in seconds. In 2012, Kanye went a step further and launched the Nike Air Yeezy 2. This particular sneaker was considered a game changer, and everyone wanted a pair. It came in two colors, Solar Red and Pure Platinum, with a total of 10,000 pairs manufactured. Their retail price was $245, but what was more shocking was that these pairs resold for over $4,000. A third color, Red Octobers, was released exclusively on Nike's website and sold out in seconds as well. It became one of the most expensive sneakers in the world. A pair of Red Octobers today sells for anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 depending on the condition. During this period, Kanye also released some limited sneakers with Louis Vuitton and shifted some of his focus to making clothing. Nike made money from the Yeezys, but they didn't want to release them in mass quantities. They kept most of their attention on Jordans, which were raking in billions of dollars for them. This is something that worked heavily in Adidas' favor. As time went on, Kanye wasn't satisfied with the partnership that he had made with Nike. He complained that he wasn't getting any royalties for his creation, and that Nike was limiting his creativity. Kanye was in the market for a better deal, and Adidas and Puma were both interested. Adidas in particular had a lot to gain from a collaboration with Kanye. Times had changed. It wasn't the 90s anymore, and they needed a boost. The best way for them to become relevant again in pop culture, not just with athletes, was by associating themselves with someone like Kanye. And this was the main reason Adidas offered Kanye a $10 million deal. Kanye would be the leverage Adidas needed to become important to young people all over the world again. Before they struck a deal with Kanye, they had raked in an impressive $14.8 billion in sales, with a 47% gross margin. However, these sales mostly came from sportswear and equipment. They didn't have very many sales in the lifestyle department. They wanted to be a hip brand in streetwear again. Adidas had a plan to be more versatile and have the sneakers everyone wanted to wear. When Adidas reached an agreement with Kanye by the end of 2015, Yeezys alone had helped them gain $2 billion in revenue. It was a match made in heaven. Later in 2016, Kanye struck an even better deal for himself. His new deal gave him 15% of all royalties on Yeezy sales, and he also insisted on 100% ownership of his Yeezy brand. Those are numbers even Michael Jordan didn't get. Jordan only got 5% royalties from Nike. The Adidas Yeezys made their debut in 2015, and they were all the hype. The shoes became so popular that they shut down web servers, made resellers a lot of money, and most importantly, made Adidas a major competitor to Nike once again. Kanye and Adidas had strategically positioned themselves for the long term. Bloggers and influencers started wearing athleisure as a fashion statement. It soon became one of the biggest fashion trends. This meant more people who weren't athletes were wearing athletic clothing every day. Now, athletic wear from Adidas and shoes like Yeezys were everywhere. The Yeezy team has been consistent with the release of new sneakers, and it's been hit after hit. Year after year, they've made it their goal to be relevant in the fashion world. There have been many different models of the Yeezy, from the 350 to the Foam Runner. The king of all these models is the Yeezy 350, specifically the second version, the 350 V2s. These sneakers are a cult classic. The shoes are described as comfortable and have established themselves as all-purpose wear. The design is simple, easy to wear, and very durable. Fashion influencers say that Yeezys easily blend with any outfit, and it's indeed one of the most liked sneaker brands on Instagram. Today, Yeezys still easily sell over retail, even if they're mass-produced. In record-breaking numbers, the sales of Yeezy slides and sneakers skyrocketed 400% in 2020, when many businesses were seeing a decline in sales. This was because resellers are always snapping up the latest release of Yeezys, in turn driving up resale values. According to StockX, the world's largest resale platform, while other top brands remained static, Adidas and Yeezy increased in sales. The Yeezy brand alone jumped from 16th on StockX's ranking to 6th. The most traded shoe of 2020 was the versatile Yeezy 350s. Yeezys have drawn attention to other kinds of Adidas shoes and solidified a boost in the entire brand sales. A lot of people who can't afford a Yeezy will still typically go for something close to it. That means another pair of Adidas sneakers sold. When it came to sales, Yeezys became more popular because they changed their strategy. What used to happen is that they relied on the concept of limited volume and encouraged fans to buy their most popular shoes. Kanye decided it would be better to allow everyone to have access to almost all the Yeezy shoes. This switch in strategy was Adidas' plan all along. For years, the company had built up the demand for these shoes by limiting releases, much to the frustration of people who were fans of Yeezys. In late 2018, Adidas agreed with Kanye's decision and decided that it would be appropriate to carry out a massive release of Yeezys in many different colorways of the well-loved 350s. Although, that doesn't doesn't mean that Yeezys aren't still limited. In fact, it's still extremely hard to get a pair when they release. Most people are gonna have to end up spending the extra couple $100 buying them for resale price, since the reselling market continues to skyrocket. Yeezys, without a doubt, have made Kanye West and Adidas plenty of money. However, they're still not quite at the level Nike brings in with the Jordan brand, which earns Nike a little bit over $3 billion in annual sales. Then again, Jordans have been around since the end of 1984, and Kanye's Yeezys have been around since 2015. In less than 7 years, Adidas and Kanye have built a brand that brings in approximately $1.5 billion per year. Here's what's next.